Hello everyone! My group and I will be presenting about the ISO 15189 accreditation. Throughout this presentation, we'll be talking about the steps needed to obtain the accreditation, the resources needed, the costing, and finally, the expected outcomes. Why should we choose to get ISO 15189 accreditation? Well, there is a simple answer. Our laboratory can earn up to 1.2 million, especially now during the COVID-19 pandemic, where accredited laboratories are needed to perform mass medical testing. Furthermore, ISO 15189 accreditation can help to increase sales over a short period of time and saves costs and reduces trading barriers, which can help to fuel our laboratory to earn 1.2 million. ISO 15189 Standard for Medical Laboratories Requirements for Quality and Competence is an international standard that was curated specifically for the requirements in a laboratory environment. ISO 15189 certification is an assurance to customers and companies that the laboratory has been assessed against an internationally recognized standard. Laboratories that have this accreditation are formally recognized to perform quality services with the utmost of competence. Therefore, accredited laboratories have the potential to attract a wide customer base and are seen as trustworthy.
This is the overall roadmap, showing the timeline to obtain accreditation all the way from the preparation stage until we achieve the accreditation. Our timeline starting in August 2020. First, we spent 3 days for the training and another 3 days for the internal audits. Then all the documents are being reviewed by the internal audits team. After 6 months, which is in February 2021, we'll be submitting the application form with the documents and perform pre-assessment by SIMM inspector. Then there will be on-site inspection. In 3 months, which is in May 2021, the ISO compliance assessment is reviewed by SIM inspectors, and we have assessment report reviewed by LAEP. Then there will be another on-site inspection. In August 2021, we'll be starting with ISO gap analysis to provide a recommendation for improvement, the review of assessment report, and an inspection by certified agency. Then finally, we have our accreditation approved. Next, we have the accreditation tenure for 10 months, which is in June 2022, where our accreditation received for tenure as well as the awarding of accreditation. Then there will be 2 interim on-site yearly surveillance. Lastly, after 3 years in June 2025, the reassessment will carry out 3 months before expiry of accreditation tenure.
We have chosen to employ the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle approach to streamline the process of preparation all the way to application. It will enable our colleagues to manage the changes required to meet the accreditation standards much easier. For the plan part, we first need to establish an accreditation team to set out all the changes we need to do in the first place. This includes upgrading the information system, the documents, the procedures and protocols to the standards required. They will also be in charge of arranging the necessary training for all the personnel involved, as well as managing the funding required for all the upgrades. The Do section refers to the running of the lab itself. With new standards to be upheld, there will definitely be changes to the pre-examination, post-examination and examination. Check is then required to evaluate the necessary improvements required to be done. This is to improve the overall quality of work with corrective and preventative measures. Last but not least, Act is to set forth the changes required by enforcing responsibilities. This is done with performances reviews and having a service agreement.
Resources needed. Funding. Funding for initial fees, applications, assessments, buying inventory and equipment. Preparing procedures. Preparing procedures such as a standard operation procedure, quality operation procedure, and work desk instruction will be needed in the beginning. Laboratory director is needed to make sure the work is up to standards, and performance management to enforce the goal, getting ISO 15189, is needed, and there will be regular checking to see progress.
ISO 15189 requires procedures such as staff training, inspection, and accreditation applications, which demanded roughly 30,000 ringgit to meet the current needs. 14,400 ringgit is needed for training costs, which consists of human resources enhancement, especially in audit regulation that refer to ISO 15189 regulation. Next is the inspection fee to ensure physical and employee compliance with the regulation at a cost of 13,600 ringgit. Lastly is the accreditation application, which costs a budget of 2,000 ringgit. More details are shown on this slide. The examination fee has 3 technical inspector who has around 4 working days with a total of 9,600 ringgit and 1 main inspector with a total of 4,000 ringgit. Their work consists of evaluating and verifying several lab equipments and other technical matters. Auditor training is included in the training costs. It consists of 3 lab auditors that are required to adapt to the new system, mostly on the budgeting of ISO 15189. It required 10,800 ringgit for 3 personnel for 3 training days, with 1,200 per day per person. Lastly, the remaining 3,600 is allocated towards the lab director or manager training.
Here we have listed 5 expected outcomes and the return on investment. The first expected outcome is an improvement in the overall profit by 15%. From other business experience, they reported that for every $1 spent on quality management system, it causes an increase in revenue by $6, reduce in cost by $16, and increase in profit by $3. An average cost reduction by 4.8% was observed in the long run. The second expected outcome is reduction in the waste disposable cost by 20%. A lab located in Botswana reported there is a reduction in lab losses from $18,000 to $40. In the long term, waste disposable cost is reduced by 20% because of the proper management in the reagents and the equipment. The third expected outcome is improved in the employees' productivity by 36%. Based on the survey, there is an increase in clinician satisfaction from 41% to 72%. An improvement in the laboratory staff performance was observed in the long term due to the need of consistent staff disciplines and professionalism. The fourth expected outcome is increase in customer satisfactory by 20%. Based on the survey, customer satisfaction increases from 56% to 73%. Another data was shown to have reduction in the lab error from 1.3% to 0.7%. In the long term, there will be an increase in accuracy and confidence by 30% in conducting the test. And the last expected outcome is reduction in the sample turnout time by 42%. The time taken to conduct in vitro diagnostic were reduced, ranging from 19% to 52%. In the long term, it was reported that the average sample turnout time to be reduced by 13 minutes. The chart indicates the cumulative figures for 6 expected outcomes in 5 years that we have estimated based on the examples. Overall, the figures demonstrated an increase in business performance and profits.